Oh gosh, babes, I'm hungry. What you had to eat?
Oh gosh, well, cool there in the kitchen, you know.
What you cooking, so?
Well, the cassava roti, cassava fries, cassava pastry, and I even got the cassava bread from the bakery up the road. Oh, let me check the cassava log on the fire. And I have some cassava ice cream in the can.
Wait, you want me to look like cassava?
So you know cassava good for you?
What's it good for?
Cassava good for vitamin B complex, vitamin K, minerals, zinc, copper. So that means you're getting a good source of energy to put out on them people work. And on top of that, it prevents colon cancer and lowers your cholesterol.
Girl, let me stop talking and start eating.
This ad is brought to you by the Agriculture Policy Program and CADI. For more information, call CADI on 443-5459.
Chronic diseases are on the rise among adults and children in Grenada. These diseases have been linked to the types of food that we consume. To deal with this rise, there is a need for proper scrutinizing of the foods that we eat, both homegrown and imported. Fishermen, farmers, agro-processors, and any other person in the food safety industry are being trained on effective ways of making our food safer for consumption, both for our locals and tourists alike. Our borders, which were not properly secured, are to be controlled, and there is a proper surveillance system put in place to deal with the importation of unsafe food. Farms and processing plants which are qualified enough to produce safe food will be issued certificates and are to be supervised. When standards drop, they can be decertified. Persons are to be trained on the requirements needed for a farm or a processing plant to be rendered qualified to provide safe food for our country. Healthcare practitioners are also taking action in this movement, advising the patients on the foods which are safer for them. We need to put our heads together to ensure we are fed safer, healthier foods to ourselves, families, and country on a whole.
This session. I'd like to say a pleasant welcome and good morning to everybody. I'd like to recognize the head table, Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Lands, Forestry and Fishery, Mrs. Yolande Bain-Hosford, Mr. Aaron Thomas, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Social Security and International Business. We have apologies for our PS Jessime. She won't be here this morning, so she sent our apologies. We'd like to welcome our consultant, Mr. Church. You want to stand so they can see who you are? Mr. Church, our consultant. We'd like to welcome him here. He is the one who will be leading today's session for you all. The national authorities, public and private sector officials, farmers, media, stakeholder, all. Welcome to everybody. Now this morning session is for you. You the stakeholders. It's not for us, it's for you, the stakeholders, who have an interest in the agricultural sector. Okay, so this agricultural health and food safety policy has to do with sanitary and phytosanitary measures. And it takes into consideration plant health, animal health, human health, and the environment. The 10th EDF SPS project, currently being implemented by ICA, is one of the components of the support to the Forum of Caribbean States in the implementation of the commitments undertaken under the Economic Partnership Agreement. The specific objective of the SPS program is to increase production and trade in agriculture and fisheries, which meet international standards while protecting plant, animal, and human health and the environment. Now, this project has done a lot for Grenada. I just want to focus on a few things. In 2014-2015, the project called for project proposal from Grenada. And we have what is called a National Technical Implementation Networking Team, comprising 8 members from different agriculture, health, and food safety organizations or units. And we put together 7 projects for the SPS project. And I must compliment the team. Here, we have Who are the members? I can see many members are not here. Derek, yeah, Derek is here. Yes. So we put together 7 projects to the SPS committee to be funded. We were fortunate with 6, and we are lucky. Not all countries get that amount of projects. So I must say hats off to the team for putting the projects together. Okay? So we had projects like gap auditing, and which is an area that Market Board is quite keen on doing, and I know they have started work in that area. We had projects like HACCP, Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points. We had people trained. As a matter of fact, the SPS project trained 2 people from Grenada who can go ahead and train other people. In other words, the project was called Train the Trainer. So we have 2 people in Grenada with the capacity to train public and private sector officials in hazard analysis and critical control point. We have 1 person sitting here today, who is Mr. Kenley Edwards from the Marketing and National Importing Board. Okay. We revised the animal bill and the plant bill, animal health bill and the plant health bill. These bills were validated in Barbados, and we had a team from Grenada who were party to that validation. Okay. We had what is called a National Emergency Response for Highly Pathogenic Avian Influenza. We had a workshop in that area. Okay. And we had training in risk management, which is a very important aspect in agricultural health and food safety. One of the projects that were not in the scope of the SPS project was that of residue analysis in agricultural produce. So we didn't get that project. But this is an area that is also of interest to agricultural health and food safety. An additional project which we did not apply for, but we had training in that, is called a workshop on traceability. But prior to that, we had what is called a pilot project in Grenada, where we did the Cocoa Association, the Nutmeg Association, and the fisheries industry. A pilot. And it was very successful. Mr. James Nicholas is here, could testify to that. He actually gave a presentation at our traceability workshop held earlier last month. Okay, I must say the purpose of this policy framework that we are working on is to promote the production, processing, marketing, and consumption of safe foods and the prevention of new and emerging diseases in the agricultural sector and the environment. Okay. Effectively, it is hoped that the capacity of the public and private sectors will be improved and be able to apply the principles and practices of agricultural health and food safety to better manage pests and disease and to adopt practices and food safety standards to increase trade and to access markets. Now, what you're going to have today is when I discussed with the consultant, we looked at where Grenada is in terms of agriculture, health, and food safety system. Okay, you cannot have a policy and you don't know where you are. It may mean that you may need to increase certain protocols and certain practices, or you may have to develop new practices or new protocols to meet the SPS regime. So we looked at something they call performance, vision, and strategy. And we look at the fundamental aspects of that, okay? Which is basically interactions of the public and private sector, capacity to access international markets, and human and financial capital. From where I sit, I think we have a lot of human capital. I'm not sure about the financing, but the human capital, I can tell you based on the SPS project over the last 2.5, 3 years, there has been a number of training and capacity building in all different areas. And just to mention, when we submitted the projects, we got 6 of the 7 projects. That means that we know what we want in terms of SPS, okay? We actually know what we want. So this workshop here is going to say, what is our policy? It's your duty to tell us what is your policy. We could propose certain things, but it got to come from you, the stakeholders. What is our policy? And I just want to mention something which is of great concern since I mentioned pests and diseases. Yesterday we had a meeting, ICA had a meeting on frosty pod rot. And to me, it touches me when I know we don't have a proper system here to have indicator plans, to have early warning system, and to activate an early response system. Because frosty pod is a disease in cocoa, a fungal disease. pathogenic disease in cocoa, which affects the pod. Now, one of the good things about this, it can be eradicated. It's not like witch's broom where you go into the flowers and other things. You only affect the pod. And within 3 months, your pod could completely rot. Now, this fungus is spread on your clothes, packaging material, and the like. But do we have a system here to cater for that? What about our borders? Are we have proper control? When we look at agro-tourism, somebody could come from a country that is infected, and they could agro-tourism, they go to the countryside, and there you go. Boom, it's gone, you know. Just 2014, Trinidad built up the emergency response because that disease was prominent in Venezuela, 2014. Trinidad doesn't have it, but it's into Jamaica, and actually in the middle of the island. Now I'm saying, what if that disease reaches here? You could lose 70% of your production just like that. Okay, so this is agricultural health and food safety. That's the message, you know. Agricultural health and food safety is important. So the message is the agricultural health and food, the importance of the agricultural health and food safety system. And the discussion going to center around things like what do we do in terms of plant indicators? What do we do about early warning system? What do we do about activating our response system, if there is one, you know? So these are the things that we have to focus on. And you're here to actually give your input in terms of what you like to see in your agriculture, health, and food safety system. Mind you, we are in the process where we're looking at climate-smart agriculture, and a lot of us looking at composting, using manure. Yes, we want to get away from the pesticides, the chemical pesticides, and we want to get away from the chemical fertilizer. But think about it, the risk. Manure, pen manure has a great risk, which we're not thinking about. Okay? So we have risk in terms of salmonella in the poultry litter. The people who have the deep litter system, salmonella is a very important thing. Okay? In cow manure, you have certain strains of E. coli. So these are risks that we are taking. In other words, we're trying to move away from a system, but we don't have checks and balances in place to deal with the new system we're trying to put in. So if many of the farmers decide to go into composting or manure for some reason, we might end up having to deal with problem of salmonella or E. coli. Are we prepared for that? So these are the things when we go into new things, we have to make sure that we analyze the situation carefully and be able to deal with the risk that may come with such a system. Okay, so as we stand, we know that there are certain principles to deal with pest and disease. And there's a principle called principle of inevitability. Now, in the case of Jamaica is trying to eradicate that disease, but it's just a matter of time before it spreads. Okay? Supposing somebody comes from Jamaica. As a matter of fact, we're trying to have a workshop next year in Trinidad to try to build awareness on this frosty pod disease. And they're saying they don't want to have it in Jamaica. They don't want to have the workshop in Jamaica because you don't want to bring people from the different countries in Jamaica that already have that disease. So they prefer to have it in Trinidad, where they have not identified that disease as yet. So you can have a disease to build awareness among the ICA countries as to what do we do next in terms of that kind of disease. So all these things are impacting on our agriculture, health, and food safety system, which we need to put in place. I think I had enough about that. So I just want to say thank you very much. And we're looking forward to your contributions to a robust agricultural, health, and food safety policy that will stand the test of times. Thank you very much for this brief remarks and introduction. I'd now like to call on Mr. Aaron Francois, who you all know very much. He used to be the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture 3 years ago, and he is now the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Social Services, and International Business. Welcome, Mr. Francois.
Thank you, Mr. Charles, head of the of ICA here in Grenada. I want to recognize Honorable Yolande Hosford, the Minister for Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries, Lands, Mr. Michael Church, the consultant on the this initiative, or the project that we are going to look at today regarding policy, integrated agricultural health and food safety issues. And certainly I want to also recognize some familiar faces I'm seeing here this morning, and all of you participants. I want to thank ICA for certainly asking us from the Ministry of Health to be a part of this very, very important initiative here today. From the Ministry of Health, while we deal more with the food safety issues, we cannot disjoint agricultural health and food safety. They are integrated. In other words, if the practices in the field or in food production chain is not one that facilitates the production of wholesome food, you know, the food safety issues will ultimately be affected. In other words, from the Ministry of Health, we are concerned very much about the food that we eat, how safe it is. Okay? And we know that food historically has played a very, very pivotal role in terms of human survival. We cannot underestimate that. Food plays a primary role. We cannot go without food. And so, but it is also important that the food that we get, that it is safe for consumption. And I'm heartened that when I heard Mr. Charles speaking about the issue of HACCP, persons being trained in those initiatives, to ensure that procedures are followed in terms of reducing risk, and that people are using practices that would allow us to produce the safe food that we really want to consume. But there is another issue about food that I want you to bear in mind. The relationship between food and diseases. We also know historically that there is a very, very strong relationship between food and diseases. And if you think I'm joking about that, even now more than ever, in an age of globalization, the connection is coming out more and more. People are always bombarded with this issue of, and with the connection between food and diseases. We are continually faced in Grenada, and we have a very small population comparatively, just over 100,000 people. But the burden, the disease burden is tremendous. You see the incidence of the chronic non-communicable diseases upon our population. You can talk about the cancers, major killers, hypertension, diabetes. Yeah? And all of them, the main killers, all of them are strongly related to food, kind of a food that we take in. And while we have those diseases that are killing people, we in the Ministry of Health are facing the cost of trying to heal people, to bring recovery in their health. And that cost burden is a huge one also. I can tell you just to operate, and annually, just to operate the general hospital alone, and I'm not talking about all the health facilities scattered across the nation. An estimate sometime in 2011 indicated we were spending over $20 million annually to operate only the general hospital. Yeah? So you understand what we're talking about. And so this initiative here today is very, very important in terms of integrating the issue of agricultural health and food safety. Of course, we are concerned, as I said, more about the food safety, so We do interfaces in terms of the consumer side. There is a food safety bill that has been passed, and we have challenges still in implementing it. And so we do training of persons to make sure that they're following proper safety practices and so on in terms of preparation of food. And of course, as I said, we have a fleet of health practitioners across the nation teaching people about eating healthy and helping to keep them away from getting sick. But, ladies and gentlemen, the issue of globalization is playing an increasing role in our food chain and food safety issues. While we have a small population, you must know that Grenada is a net importer of food. In other words, our food requirements are satisfied primarily by imports. If you didn't know. And so we must not just, it is not just important for us on the issue of agricultural health and food safety issues to look internally, but on a broader scale we must have a mechanism that would help us monitor and have a surveillance system, a management system, whether or not, wherever the food comes from, that our population is consuming wholesome food. Yeah? It is important. And I believe that the policy is seeking to do that. It is seeking to put in place this mechanism, this monitoring mechanism that would help us to do that. Bringing health and agriculture closer together in terms of the issue of food safety. More and more, we cannot escape it. People are coming to our shows. We are a tourist country. People are coming in here all the time. And so it is not just for our population, but we have an obligation to protect our visitors also. Yeah? And so this exercise today is very, very important. I want to commend ICA in leading the charge on it. And certainly for you who would have contributed in the preliminary development of the framework. And as you deliberate here today, I want to ask you to give your utmost to making sure that the result that we get here from here today would really help in terms of strengthening our food safety agenda so that both our people and all those who would come through our shows would feel safer, would feel more confident that the food that we are consuming on this island is one that is wholesome and safe for consumption. So again, I want to wish you all the best and good luck. Thank you very much.
There you had it. That's the policy. Okay, so food, wholesome food. Thank you, Mr. Francois. So I'd like to call to the podium now Honorable Minister Yolan Bain Hosford to give the feature address. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Charles. But after listening to P.S. Francois, I might as well sit down. He gave a good delivery here this morning. Mr. Derek Charles, National Specialist from ICA, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Social Security and International Business, Mr. Aaron Francois, what's happening with us this morning? Senior officers of the Ministry of Agriculture, I see here Mr. Daniel Lewis, Mr. Charles, and also Fisheries. We have Mr. Michael Church, consultant, who has prepared or is preparing the food safety policy. Other invited guests here this morning, members of the media. A pleasant good morning to all of you. Let me say from the onset how exceedingly pleased I am to be present here this morning at this very important consultation on the agricultural health and food safety policy. And even more gratifying is to have been given the opportunity to address you here this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, while enormous efforts have been made post-Hurricane Ivan, geared at the rehabilitation of the pivotal agri-food sector, following what was tantamount to the virtual dissemination of this very important economic sector of the economy, where the major emphasis had been principally on prioritizing the resuscitation of the major crops, such as cocoa, banana, nutmeg, and other spices, roots and tubers, vegetables, etc., while at the same time improving the infrastructure of roads and propagation stations. Other major actions which have been carried out by the ministry over the last decade or so have been natural resources management, where substantial resources provided by both the government and donor funding have been expended in supporting projects which have been geared at managing in a more sustainable and judicious manner soils, forestry, marine resources, biodiversity, water resources, etc. The establishment of marine protected areas in Grenada, for example, are aimed at protecting and conserving marine species and habitats, sustainable land management and the land degradation projects which have been implemented a few years ago, specifically targeted management of land and soil resources. The Ridge to Reef project, which is now being implemented, seeks to curtail deleterious and unsustainable farm and household practices that negatively impact the freshwater and marine environment and, by extension, biodiversity. Human resource capacity building, where stakeholders at all levels, that is farmers, extension agents, and other officers of the Ministry of Agriculture, fisherfolk, agro-processors, etc., are continuously being trained in a plethora of subject matters aimed at improving technical capability, which is expected to be translated into higher levels of productivity in the sector, enhancement of the legislative agenda of the agri-food sector, given the fact that many of the legislation governing the agri-food sector, by and large, are antiquated and do not meet the current end of an industry which is changing in such a rapid manner. The ministry has been dedicating a lot of effort in addressing that anomaly, and I am very pleased, colleagues, to inform you that we have been making steady progress in that respect. Development of critical infrastructure, farm and feeder roads, propagation stations, improvement in diagnostic laboratories, etc. Implementation of major interventions to address effects of climate change. Example, the Integrated Climate Change Adaptation Strategies project, which have so far supported the development of climate-smart agriculture approaches, development of coastal zone management policies, etc. Distinguished colleagues, while natural resources management, human resource capacity building, enhancement of the legislative agenda, development of infrastructure, etc., are all very important and are vitally important in pushing the agriculture development agenda forward. Issues related to agricultural health and food safety have become in recent times an indispensable tool in ensuring that the agri-food sector become competitive and relevant, and for which have been obliged to place immense attention to. Trade in many products are now governed by a growing array of food safety and agricultural health standards. These have been developed to address various risks, including those associated with microbial, viral pathogens, pesticides and veterinary pharmaceuticals, environmental contaminants, for example, heavy metals such as cadmium, and naturally occurring toxins, for example, mycotoxins, and the spread of plant pests and animal diseases. Colleagues, the increased attention to food safety and agricultural risk stems in part from scientific advances, but it is also substantially driven by shifts in consumer demand and by a series of food safety scandals and disease outbreaks in many developed countries. Over the last few years, there have been challenges related to food safety, particularly in Europe and the USA. Remember the mad cow disease, the bird flu, the HINI, etc., which have forced these countries to impose more stringent import requirements on exporters. About 2 years ago, the USA enacted a Food Safety Modernization Act. The rule establishes, for the first time, science-based minimum standards for the safe growing, harvesting, packing, and holding of fruits and vegetables grown for human consumption. This obliges exporting countries to meet the food and health standards required by the USDA, and for countries like Grenada, who exports to that country, would have to put the requisite systems in place for compliance. Colleagues, similarly, the European Union have imposed standards with respect to maximum residue levels of cadmium in cocoa, which implies that cocoa now being exported from Grenada to the European Union would have to meet those standards. Gone are the days when products exported from Grenada, whether cocoa, bananas, or nutmeg, were not subjected to that rigorous level of scrutiny. Essentially, ladies and gentlemen, export of agricultural products are becoming more and more difficult with regards to the adherence of sanitary and phytosanitary standards and food safety requirements. So what Grenada needs to do to ensure compliance with SPS and food safety standards? Some of the key interventions needed to ensure compliance with SPS and food safety standards include, but not limited to, build awareness among all stakeholders across the food value chain on the importance of adherence to strict food safety standards, and this would involve training of all persons involved in the sector, including producers, marketers, agro-processors, technical officers, etc., in the SPS, agricultural health, and food safety systems. Development of farm certification programs where farms would have to be certified, and when standards drop, impose decertification of these farms. Special training for a cadre of technical persons to certify farms and other establishments, as example, processing plants. Development of a robust monitoring program to ensure compliance to food safety standards. Development of an effective National Agricultural Health and Food Safety Authority with a mandate to push the national food safety agenda forward. Work closely with Caribbean Agricultural Health and Food Safety Authority. Keep up to date with all developments which are taking place at the global level with respect to food safety issues so that these can be quickly communicated to key players at the national level. Enact legislation which would seek to strengthen SPS and food safety development in Grenada. There is a need to train more persons in Grenada in technical areas related to SPS and agricultural health and food safety. Ladies and gentlemen, I am exceedingly pleased to inform you that while we in Grenada have a lot to do to attain the comfort zone with respect to agricultural health and food safety, I am comforted by the fact that a number of initiatives have been taken over the last few years to ensure that agricultural health and food safety is placed on the front burner. A National Agricultural Health and Food Safety Committee has been set up. The OECS Commission and ICA have been providing support through training and other interventions in this area here. In 2015, a food safety bill was passed in Parliament. Under the 10th EDF-funded Caribbean SPS project, a plant health and animal health and food safety bills have been developed for the region. Grenada is obviously a beneficiary of that initiative. The Grenada Bureau of Standards have been conducting training in food safety standards for a number of years, now in areas such as HACCP and traceability, etc. And you have heard your ICA representatives spoke briefly on that earlier on. It is with my sincerest hope that the consultation today on the draft policy on agricultural health and food safety would be a very fruitful and highly productive one. I see we have the expertise in the room here. We have people representing different agencies and different organizations. We have the Ministry of Agriculture, and of course, we have our consultant who is well rounded in that area, who has the expertise to pull all the information together and come out with a grand policy here. Let me take this opportunity in conveying the Ministry's deepest appreciation and gratitude to the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, ICA, and by extension, the regional SPS project, for providing the financial assistance which made it possible to develop that draft policy. I'm also obliged to thank Mr. Michael Church for laboring assiduously in putting together the policy. I hope that after the consultations today and tomorrow, that with the expected inputs and critiques from Grenada, would end up with a very high-quality policy on agricultural health and food safety policy, which would be the envy of many in the region, and that same would be submitted to Cabinet as soon as possible for its endorsement. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you all the best as you go forward this morning.
Thank you very much, Minister, for a very thorough assessment of what we need to do. I think there are a lot of...
Entrepreneurship Week is a regional movement celebrating entrepreneurs and promoting entrepreneurship. We promote entrepreneurship as a tool to be used for starting and growing a business, as well as for stimulating creativity and innovation in the minds of our people. We hope to inspire all people to become more entrepreneurial, hence boosting productivity. This video showcases some of the CARICOM region's agripreneurs. The myth that young people are not interested in agriculture is just that, a myth. It also showcases organizations which have been working to support agripreneurs with entrepreneurship and personal development tools, techniques, strategies, tactics, and mindsets. Caribbean Entrepreneurship Week, making entrepreneurship contagious in this region.
My name is Floyd Thomas, and I'm from the beautiful island of Grenada. The name of my company is called The Source of Eden, which is geared towards the cultivating of source of fruit trees for their fruits and leaf products. The business idea is to cultivate 15,000 source of plants on 50 acres of land. 300 plants on every acre with a spacing of 12 feet by 12 feet in a square. These plants will be maintained and sustained by the use of 100% organic manure, which would be derived from local poultry farms. There are many health benefits of source of fruits and leaves. For instance, the leaves can be used to treat kidney problems, heal skin eruptions, and get rid of head lice. The targeted customers are locals living in both rural and urban areas, mainly through the means of supermarkets and restaurants, and customers in regional and international countries such as Trinidad, America, and England.
Seafood, meats, etc. I feel I don't know.
Introducing Tech for Agri, the web series made by Youth for Youth that features innovation, technology, successes, and the people behind today's agricultural world. The intention is to provide an interesting information service centered on tools and methods that can assist agri-youth in their entrepreneurial activities and general know-how. What makes this idea different? The web series will be entirely shot and edited using mobile devices and apps, what is referred to as mobile and drone journalism. This means we can undertake efficient news and information gathering with less investment dollars, ensure high impact via the production of mobile-enabled content, facilitate quality production, and ensure personal storytelling to our audience. How does this relate to hunger and malnutrition? To end these problems, many solutions are generated, all of which have something in common. These ideas need time, investment, and someone to implement them, ensuring they succeed and ridding the world of these problems forever. Who will do this? The answer is simple: agri-youth. They are the ones through their various careers and chosen fields of study who battle hunger and malnutrition now, tomorrow, and in the distant future. Acting as a support service, we seek to support and motivate the agri-youth who will take on the hunger and malnutrition challenges of the world using ingenuity and technology. Our web series is engaging new age journalism that is visual, uplifting, and focused on relatable stories for those involved in agriculture, while still remaining informative to assist them in their endeavors, which can lead to the solutions which will end hunger and malnutrition. We hope to invest in agri-youth now for a better tomorrow.
I'm Duhaji Jennings, founder of Dadabees, and I would just like to tell you a little bit about this business. It started about 9 years ago. I was a student at the University of the West Indies, and I realized that when I finished my studies, more than likely I would not be placed in a job, so I decided to create my own. Now the brand Dadabees, it's really taken from my grandfather. His picture is the logo, or his face is the logo, and he was a beekeeper. You know, as a young child I grew up seeing him in his bees. He only had a few hives. He was a small beekeeper at the time, but that is where the interest grew for me. Dadabees started with actually 5 boxes of bees, and it has now grown tremendously over these 9 years. We now are able to sell other colonies of bees, upwards of 100 colonies per month. Now this means that we are one of the largest beekeeping operations in the island of Jamaica. Our main products are, of course, honey. We also do bee pollen. We do propolis tinctures. We make other equipment for beekeepers, and we also provide other farming machinery and manufacturing machinery to small manufacturers across the island. Currently, we are located here in St. James, one of the parishes in Jamaica. It has its own setup, its own space for operation, which we are planning to expand shortly. And you can find our products, especially in hotels, because I sell to middlemen wholesale who then sell it to the hotels. And our products are known for quality. Our service is really on honest, you know, and we try to maintain that quality and honesty just as my grandfather was known for back in his days. I'm showing you one of our operations, and we call here the nursery because this is where we start small colonies for sale to other farmers and to increase our honey or pollen or wax productive hives, right? So as you can see, this is a nursery behind me, and at this current setup we have 141 new colonies to be sent out at a later date. All that are here are already sold, and we then bring in new small colonies to let them grow again. So it's 141 here, and it is really close to where our main operation is in terms of the facility, so we can always keep an eye on these young colonies. Here is a container that we have, and that container it keeps our equipment, and we're going to take a walk now to the honey house where I was before. This is our small woodwork shop. The guys are not in yet, it's a bit early here, and we are currently making pollen traps. So these are the pieces pre-cut to make 100 new pollen traps, right? We're one of the few producers of frames, beeswax frames, and they're made from a strong, durable wood called cedar. So thank you for your time. Thank you for spending a little time for us to be able to show you our little setup. Behind me is the honey house, and that's where we do most of our production. We are now going to be increasing our production to not just beekeeping products, but we are launching into coconut oil, coconut water, and a few other products.
The team behind Renee's Sensations comprises of 3 individuals: Kalana Charles, the hustler; Marisha Jeremiah, the designer; Gary Steele, the techie. With my guidance, we were able to set up a 4-month action plan and charted the course towards the achievements of these goals. Kalana Charles, the hustler, whose background is in marketing and business management, was able to put together a marketing plan for the remainder of the year. She secured a very important market with the Sandals Luxury Resort and was instrumental in redesigning the website, which is now on schedule for completion within the next 2 weeks. She's also used her graphic designing skills to design a new user-friendly market research questionnaire. Marisha Jeremiah, my designer, with his vast knowledge in retail sales and product development, was the brainchild behind the redesigning of the label. He also shared some valuable suggestions regarding product placement and display. We were therefore able to secure a prime spot at the leading supermarket in Grenada, which saw an increase in our sales. Suggestions for promotions were also forthcoming from him, and we are now getting ready to launch a Facebook promotion within the coming week. He also dutifully manages the financial aspect of the business and keeps an ardent check on all expenses. Gary Steele, my techie, was able to redesign the workshop, making it more effective. He was able to establish a functioning production line and created an inventory spreadsheet that we use to keep track of our raw materials. He also implemented a low stock cutoff for the retail outlet and was responsible for the setting up of the storefront. Before the team was implemented, there was a bit of chaos and little direction. Our biggest challenge was getting through to the gatekeepers at the hotels and boutiques. Right now, we have the inventory, product placement, and marketing under control.
Watson from Honeybees Apiary in Jamaica. Why did I want to start this particular business? I wanted to start this particular business because I actually loved beekeeping Since I was growing up, I've always liked the idea of producing my own products. I kind of not wanted to be strapped on by an everyday 9 to 5. And I decided to do urban beekeeping because I'm an urban child, and therefore it is one of the things that I wanted, one of the areas that I wanted to look at, urban development, because I knew hardly anything about the rural context, having grown up in an urban context. One of the persons I would say that is my mentor right now is Dr. Marcia Brandon. Funny enough, because she has given me advice on a lot of things. She's basically looking out for me in terms of sending me project ideas, giving me feedback on how I can do personal development as well as business development. So I think what she has to say is very crucial in that sphere because she's worked with youth and young people. I'm interested in doing export, but my business right now is in the startup phase, so I'm not doing export just yet. Funny enough, thanks to a program that Marcia actually referred me to, which I was successful in getting onto the group of interns for this year. So I'm doing a lot of stuff and with this business right now, and funny enough, one of the camera person that I'm actually helping to take this video is one of the persons I'm considering training in beekeeping. So I plan on actually doing a lot of work in youth development and community development. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Hi, good day. I'm Naomi. Welcome to Just Right Creations. Today I will be making a fresh batch of tamarind juice, just cool tamarind juice. So let's begin. Right. First of all, I have my freshly packaged tamarind here that I'm going to add to this bowl of boiling hot water. So let me open the tamarind. So you're just cutting it at the side. So I'm adding my tamarind to the boiling hot water now. Nice and fresh. Nice. Okay, so after this, I'm just going to take the whisk and use the whisk to agitate the tamarind a bit. I'm going to start beating it out so that I can get the seeds separated from the pulp. So I'm beating out and whisking the tamarind. As you can see, now we have this separation between the seed and the pulp so that we can use the pulp for the juice. Now I'm going to begin sieving using the sieve to separate the pulp and the tamarind seeds. So you get all natural fresh tamarind juice. Okay. So I'll just agitate the tamarind a bit again in the sieve. Beat it out so that you can get the taste of the tamarind. Right? So now I'm going to add the sugar. With sugar that I have weighed out here, I'm going to add it to my pot of boiling hot water. Right? Just a hot spoon. Make sure that it's sanitized. The sugar and the boiling hot water. top of it. So now I'm going to put my syrup in the bowl, in the pot, the pasteurizer. Right, I'm going to put it in the pasteurizer. Just start dipping on the syrup. Here you can see we have the sieve over the pot so that no particles is able to go into the juice. Just keep adding syrup. So this is just the sugar and the water mixed in. So now I'm going to take the pot and begin pouring. Nice. So we have all of the tamarind syrup, the sugar and the water in the pot. Okay, so now what we're going to do is add the pulp that we have beaten up prior. We're going to add it to the mixture. Just follow. So I'm going to take them out and begin dipping out the pulp and adding it to the juice, adding it to the syrup. So you see we have a nice fresh tamarind juice going in the syrup now. Just let a pot spoon and stir. Okay. Take the pot and add the rest of the pot.
Hi, so I'm Alpha Senon, the founder and executive director of a non-profit organization in Trinidad and Tobago called YFAM. YFAM means We Help Youth Farm. And what we are interested in growing future feeders and ensuring that there are people to feed us in the future. So our motto is growing future feeders from the ground up. Right now, I'm over here in Charlottesville, Virginia in the United States of America, attending a fellowship called the Young Leaders of America Initiative. And it's 250 young leaders from throughout the Caribbean and Latin America that was selected to attend this fellowship. My business, however, deals directly with getting young people excited getting young people involved in agriculture on a really cool level. So we have created and invented the first food security superhero character called Agriman, and started with an Agriman Adventures comic book, and we are now heading into animation and an app for the smartphones. Y-Farm exists throughout the globe. We have been exciting young people throughout the globe to take up this challenge of feeding the world by 2050, and me being involved in the Thought for Food network called TFF. I'm one of the global ambassadors for Thought for Food, and I spread this message using Agriman around the globe. How do we feed the world by 2050? Using a lot of creativity and the art form, we have been successfully been able to start the rebranding process of agriculture. Many young people on a daily basis throughout the Caribbean, throughout the globe actually, would write us and ask us for Agriman to come to their schools. How do I start up a production? So I believe that we have the tools to successfully change the way young people see agriculture, and the change is happening right now. I have several mentors. I must say I don't only have one mentor. Several people who would have coached me along the way. Professors at the university, entrepreneur leaders throughout the Caribbean, global entrepreneurs as well. Most notably, I would like to recognize Dr. Marcia Brandon. You know, she's one of those persons who stick with the young people throughout the region. I'd like to recognize the APP office in Trinidad and Tobago, which is under the lead of Miss Diana Francis and Malcolm Wallace out of ICA office. You know, they really support this movement as well. And several other persons, you know, the University of the West Indies, my professor, the Dean of the Faculty, Dr. Wayne Gampat, CARDI office, you know, Thought for Food, you know, that they are one of the organizations that really allow us to think differently about agriculture. So any young person looking at this, you know, you all should get involved through Thought for Food. So as for international markets, we have successfully started Y-Farm in Rwanda, started Y-Farm in Haiti, started Y-Farm in Zambia, and we are now headed into Cameroon and into Kenya and Nigeria. So the word is spreading, and a lot of young people are getting involved, and Agriman is a global tool. So, you know, as we celebrate this Global Entrepreneurship Week, I would like young people in the Caribbean to get involved, free your minds, further your passion, and take it to the next level. Don't just keep the idea in your pocket, but take it to the globe. There are young people, there are other people who's there willing to help you and help you take it forward. So don't be afraid, take up the challenge. Whatever your passion may be, just be the best you could be at it.
Crowded and untidy stands, product exposed to extreme weather conditions, time-consuming, the lack of customer service, product information not being available, and more important, a very unpleasant environment. These are what customers experience while shopping in the local market for agricultural products. It can be very frustrating to customers as well as the vendors. The main choice of outlet is the open air environment, which is exposed to the elements of nature with little or no protection from the harsh weather conditions. Being in constant competition to obtain the attention and service of the vendors is a difficult task for the customer. At times, searching for one product is as difficult as finding a needle in a haystack because many vendors do not provide any form of uniformity in the display of their products. With limited space to showcase their products and a large number of persons shopping, the experience is very chaotic. This experience is drastically becoming a turner for shopping for agricultural products, as can be seen in this video. And this team would make shopping at the local agricultural market convenient from home. Learn, buy, sell online.
At Sugartown Wish List, we believe in utilizing crops to feed our nation. So when we began thinking of what we wanted to make of Sugartown Wish List, we looked at the food that grew around us and how it was being utilized, and we saw that although our people bought fresh food from our farmers, a lot of it went to waste because there just wasn't enough time to utilize it because of their schedules. And so we decided to make products from local foods that allowed our populace to use the ability to use food over a longer period of time and to still eat healthy. And so we started creating what we call condiments that aided in cooking, and bath and body products that also gave the added benefit of fresh foods and vitamins and antioxidants and all those lovely things that we need to stay healthy. And so this is how Sugartown Wish List became, and our two brands, Yafine and Florial, came about. Right now we are serving the populace of St. Kitts, and we are also shipping to the neighboring islands such as St. Martin, Trinidad and Tobago, Trinidad, Antigua, St. Lucia, and some of the US and Canada and into Europe. And so right now what we are doing is scaling our business so that we can better meet the demand for our products that keeps growing daily. Recently we started a street fair that we have been using to generate more interest into our product and to create a buzz. We have gotten them into the local supermarkets, 3 of them in fact, which is a great feat for us. And so we see that there is a need for our product. Our customers showing us that they want it, that they love it, especially our repeat customers who also send their friends and their family to us for consultations on what products they can use to aid in various issues they're having with their skin and their hair, and sometimes even with their diet. And so that is what Sugartown Wish List is about, helping to promote and to encourage and to empower a healthier nation, one customer at a time, one product at a time. We can be found online on Facebook, facebook.com/Florials for our food products, and facebook.com/Yafine for our hair and body products. We can also be found on Instagram at instagram.com/Yafine, and on Twitter, twitter.com/Yafine. As I said before, right now we're trying to scale, so we're looking for funding to enable us to do that. We have a few projects that we are working on at the moment, trying to raise funds for, and that is our hydroponic system. Because where we live, it's a natural agricultural belt, but we've been experiencing severe droughts here, and so we're looking into that system to sort of aid us, to help us to continue to be able to grow our foods. And so that's it. That's what Sugartown Wish List is about.
Farmers in Grenada took advantage of an opportunity to learn good agricultural practices through a food safety and quality assurance workshop executed by the Marketing and National Importing Board. The 2-day training was held at the National Stadium last week.
Okay, it's Roderick Sinclair, the Business Development Manager, Marketing and National Importing Board. We have a 2-day workshop focusing on good agricultural practices and food safety, as well as quality. This is done in collaboration and support from the Reef to Reef project. Our main target is the Farmers Supply and Marketing Board, at least in the first instance. And the main purpose of this training is to improve the capacity of these farmers so that they can better able to understand and implement on the farm good practices that will be able to deliver safe products but also that they do it in a sustainable way. So, if, for example, the way they do their drainage on the farm, the way they apply the pesticides, the way they manage the pest and disease on the farm, the way they even treat their workers in terms of health and hygiene and sanitation and so on. All those are very important activities. The record keeping to show evidence. So maybe you may say the farm is not a courthouse or it's not a crime scene, but it can be the site of a crime scene, because if somebody gets sick from a produce that is linked to Tom and Mary farm, you can trace it back and say, hey, they use some illegal chemicals here. So it can be seen. So record keeping is very important in this aspect. So what we've been doing this in collaboration with the Bureau of Standards, the Ministry of Agriculture and ICA. Today, we focus a lot on the MNIB's requirement. Yesterday, we focused a lot on the global gap, the Grenada standard based on the Bureau of Standards, but today we are showing farmers what it is that Marketing Board require you to do on your farm. So we take them through our whole field monitoring system. They actually go through and rank and assess the farm based on information that they have. But we also visit the farms and do that ourselves. So even if the farmer do this, in the future they know how to do it themselves. What we want to see at the end of the day is that a food safety program that Marketing Board would have that is HACCP certified, but that is supported by farmers who are supplying product that is safe. Because if the farmers are not supplying safe produce and wholesome products, then our food safety system has failed. So this year is not the only session we would have. We will have many more training activities with the farmers, because we have 2,000 farmers plus. They all have to be approved and certified. And one of the key ways to do it is to train them and build a capacity so that they can able to carry those functions on the farm. It's very important for us to do that, because without that, we'd have problems accessing not just overseas market, but our local hotels may start saying, hey, you need to have safe food. Show me that this food is safe. The cruise lines may come in and say, okay, I want to buy products from Marketing Board or from other places. Is it certified? And of course, when we export, we must do that. So for example, come 2017, the Fresh Produce Modernization Act within the US, that would be implemented fully. In December, we would have inspectors from the US coming to see what is going on in Grenada. So if the Marketing Board and other exporters and other persons involved in the fresh produce business don't put the house in order, we'll be in problems. So this training here is one in a series that we'll have, so that we could improve the capacity and we're able to provide safer products for our consumers, not only overseas, but here. For that, the farmer will be able to have access to more markets. So for example, yesterday a farmer said, well, what will happen to me? And one of the officers said, look, brother, you already have a market. If you don't do these things, the most that would happen to you, you will lose what you already have. So just to maintain what we have and to gain access to more, we must be doing those practices. Of course, it's a cost. Farmers say, I would need to invest in storage area for the workers. I would need to have storage area for my chemicals. I would need to have testing for my water. All of those things, they do cost. But I guess as a government and institutions in the system, through our own, meaning local funds and maybe funding from donors and so on, we'd have to find ways, funding from banks and so on, we'd have to find ways for the farmers.
My name is Ron Augustine. The name of my business is Bocage Apiary. Alright, basically what I do up here is extract honey, right, real queen bees. After real queen bees, I do swarm control. That is when the bees getting big and crowded. I do swarm control. Okay, right now I'll take you to show you inside my factory to see how you extract the honey after you take it out from the bees, the beehives.
What happens out here?
Well, you notice in the far end, those are some new hives that I just made recently. In order to make new hives, you need to get brood from the older hives. Brood is basically young bees. of bees before they come out of the cell. That is brood. Alright? And you get brood, you get young bees. And you set them up on stand like how you see I set them up right here. And then you let them, and then you give them a queen cell in 2 to 3 days time. You give them a queen cell. And then you allow them to make new queens, and then they'll make new colonies. Like these, the bigger ones are big established colonies, while those little ones are called nukes. Right? Those little one box ones are called them nukes. Like small hives. Now, basically the bees go through a life cycle. Right? It's a 20-day life cycle. Right? Like, okay. It takes 20 days for when the queen lays an egg to when the adult worker bee emerges from the cell. Understand?
Okay.
Okay. It takes another 20 days for when the adult, not adult field bee, right? And adult field bee will continue its life until it dies out. Understand? Right. Now, let me show you after. You see right at the entrance here? Those are flying in and out there. Those are field bees. Those are just stay right at the entrance, but they're not flying in and out. Or guard bees. Like, you see this one? So that is like a guard bee. That is like a guard bee. But it's not too wise to get too close too long. Because it might start to get a little bit aggressive. Let's produce all the big set of honey up here, up in Montrose. Like more in the middle of the island, the Kakoli tree does tend to produce the honey. While in the lower parts of the island, it does tend to be the Campeche. So this is a major producer of honey. A major honey flowering plant. As you can see, Kakoli. For the pods, this is the fruit of the Kakoli. Okay.
Ready to go.
Even mark some dates on them on the screen.
Oh, you usually mark the date to insert them so you know how long, so you can keep track of it.
All of that.
Okay.
So no one drafted this one. This one was done on 1st of no, I can't see the tree.
That little bit of smoke you use? You didn't need much smoke?
Instead of putting them on the thing, they're not aggressive. Look at the queen right here. So I don't have to use
Top or bottom?
Look at the fat one right here. The fat one. They're not aggressive.
No, they're quite.
Okay.
So they're building their home.
Yes. Look at the
You
queen.
see any
You see?
eggs? Yeah.
Okay.
Any eggs?
Eggs? Look at the eggs inside here. You can't see them so easy. You see little ones and then? Little white one. Oh, you're not seeing it so easy.
No.
Let me see your cut on it. Look. Come at this angle here. You see? Don't make any sudden movement.
Okay.
Please don't. Okay?
Okay, I think we have enough.
You had enough?
Yeah.
Okay. You see the brown seal patches? That are called brood. Right?
Okay.
Look at the honey on top here. The brown seal patches are brood. The orange little things inside there is pollen. Right? The shiny liquid is honey. Nectar that you just get. Right? You see them?
Yep.
And the little white warm thing that you're seeing inside there is larva and brood.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
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 Alright, and look at the queen. Get out the queen. Look at the queen right up there. See it?
The queen.
Okay, the longest you can be right there. Cells. Notice how the holes are looking bigger. Each one they call a cell. This is drone cells. They are bigger compared to the worker cells, which are small. This is a frame which contains worker cells. So you see the difference between drone cells and worker cells? One
bigger,
a lot bigger than the other.
Would one give more honey than the other? Which one?
Well, one will store more honey than the other. The bigger one will store more honey. And more capacity. So you get a difference? Look at the frame close to each other. And you can see the big difference. Why is the difference? Okay. So you want this one to cut?
This one will be easier?
Yes. This one will be a piece of it. All you just have to do is just...
Okay. Sorry, one of these frames, approximately, like, give me an idea how much honey you would extract from it if you were to use just one.
I know a box containing 10 frames, maybe about like this size of frame, maybe about 300 gallons. Right? So, here. 300 gallons. 1 imperial gallon is 4.5 liters. So it's 15 liters per box, which is 1.5 liters, 1 to 1.5 liters per frame. Right.
So this, what would happen with this here?
What happens? Oh, the honey comes out to run out into the bucket there. And then I'll just put one of the next one there.
The process for, like, how long would it take for the honey to run out? Because I noticed it's running really slow from, like, all of this. How long would it take for it to run out?
I'll leave the cartons there for about 5 days. that in a bucket. And then a big steel pot, and then I just move out everything.
And melt it out, and then what?
And then wax. These wax up. You see? You all these little trappings and things here. Also need this for beeswax.
Oh, you make bees?
Yes, beeswax. And the beeswax I use now to make bee foundation. You see? This is bee foundation. That is a foundation. Alright, you see what it is? That all got broken. And this foundation is what, and the foundation that you're holding right now, right, I have to insert it in between those frames, and they build it up and seal it off with honey. You see?
Oh. So basically nothing gets wasted in this process.
Nothing gets wasted. You know the religious.
So the process where you remove them, like what you're doing now, how often do you do this?
Oh, extraction?
Extraction, yeah.
It depends on the weather, the flowering plants, and the bees. No, as I was saying, the bees have a life cycle, right? And then also you have to take in consideration the weather pattern as well as the flowering plants. Right? First of all, plants must be flowering before you can get honey. Right? And for the plants to make honey, the weather pattern has to be right. When swarm control and keep the bees at home by giving them adequate room on time, then your productivity will become great. Right? And the market, there's always market for honey. The market is never a problem for honey. Not to my knowledge.
Would you encourage young persons, other people to get involved in beekeeping and bee rearing? And if so,
you see, the thing is, to be really and to be truthful, first of all, you have to have the land, right? In other words, okay, when I mean the land, it's just not, you just have one big piece of land in one place and you got nowhere else. You need to have land in different places. At least an acre, like 3 miles apart from each other. Like say for example, I have an acre in Gulf Coast. The next one is in Westerhoff. They're at least 3 miles apart. The next one is up here. Up here is like almost 3 miles apart from Westerhoff. And here is like almost 3 miles apart from La Sagesse. Right? You see? At least when you give them space, they're able to produce. But now, if, like say, you're coming into beekeeping, and like say somebody already have bees in that area, and then you come and put more bees there, the overall productivity of both you and the person will decline. So it's something you have to be cautious about. Right? Yeah, it's profitable, and yes, if you can make it and you're willing to do it, well, come into it. But remember, you have to be dedicated to it. It's not just something you just throw some bees in a box and you just put 2 frames and you expect honey next day. That doesn't happen in beekeeping. You must, like when you're rearing queens, you must be aware of the bee life cycle, right? You must put on new comb and thing on them on time to prevent them from overcrowding, right? And once you're doing that, well, yes, you could come into the beekeeping. I'll encourage you to come into the beekeeping.
Do you have like an association or organization or something in Grenada?
Yes, Beekeepers Association, GAB, that is in Grenville, St. Andrews.
What kind of support does the association provide for beekeepers like yourself?
They help us to order material from abroad, like say Walter Kelly and those places abroad, those beekeepers, those places where they sell bee equipment, they help order from abroad.
Do they provide training and
yes, they also provide training. Actually, there's some workshop, I think it's in January. I know at the School of Med, and the Beekeepers Association has some things to do with that too.
You can actually see it trickling down. Wow. Tell me, what kind of difficulties that you encounter as a beekeeper?
Okay, first of all, vandalism. Alright, like there are people who go and rob your honey. Right, they actually go with their own mask and everything and go and take out honey out of your beehive and things. Like I remember not too long ago there was an incident up in La Sagesse. And my neighbor, somebody went and robbed his bees and his honey. Right. Also, there's well, when concerning the bees themselves, they like pests and disease. There's a thing I call varroa mites. That is a major pest in bees, so that is a major challenge. Right. That is like a primary pest. Then when the varroa mites weaken the bees, then secondary pests like the plumber ants, and those big ants, they go and attack the bees, as well as the wax moth. They'll go and destroy the beehives. That is secondary pest. But our primary pest is like the varroa mites. It's a little mite that tends to live on the bee.
How do you protect yourself against
varroa mite?
Yeah.
Okay. I have something called AP Guard, right, which is basically thyme oil. You know the small leaf thyme?
Yeah.
The oil from that plant? Right. That is what you use to kill the varroa mites. Thyme oil, right. Now, from vandalism, to protect yourself from that, first of all, you have to look for a decent location whereby not too far away from people, but at the same time not too close to people. Also, you set up little devices on your hives. Some devices might be GPS devices, others might be alarm devices, so if anybody come and interfere with your bee, it's an alarm at home. Right, so you'll know that people are meddling with your bees.
Do you personally, do you get much of that? People coming into your...
Only once I experienced that down in Gold Coast. That is when I used to have them a little bit far from my house. But as I put them close to my house, no, they didn't really come and interfere with my bees. Okay. Location is very important. You can't have them too isolated in the bush. Neither could you have them too close to people to prevent the bees from stinging people. So its location is critical. Sometimes me and my brother, sometimes me and my fiance that come and spend all the honey and
Okay. So you put each one in between the slot kind of thing?
That's a deep frame. It holds 9 deep frames, 18 medium frames.
It holds 9 deep frames and 18 medium frames. So these are deep frames?
Or, yeah, this is deep frame. 9 deep frames or 18 medium or shallow frames. This frame number 9. I'll just take up one by one. And get things on the run.
So this is the lever to let them out the honey out when you turn the machine on, I guess, right? Awesome.
And the machine spinning, we continue cutting through.
So approximately how fast does it spin?
Machine? Like how much revolutions per minute?
Yeah. You have it there?
RPM 320. The RPM for this is
320.
Yeah, 320 revolutions per minute. I'll leave that there for about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes.
So from those 10 frames, how many buckets will you get?
Those 10 frames? That'll do about one bucket. That bucket there you see is 5 US gallons, right? So the bucket might reach maybe halfway.
Halfway, okay.
That extraction is just about Thursday, so about 20 boxes.
So this is from 1 day extraction?
Yeah. This is about 20 boxes. Small, medium.
And approximately how big is that tub? How big is that?
This drum?
Yeah.
That's a 45 imperial gallon drum, or 55 US gallons. Or 200 liters.
200 liters?
Yes.
After this, what's the next step?
To take the bucket and do that. This one, I'm going to put it on this.
And it will sit in this for how long?
How long that will stay there? Yeah, you're going to transfer that to this other room right now.
No, then you would transfer, okay, after this, you would transfer to this one. So all the filter, the wax at the top would be...
The wax on the top stays at the top. If you notice this one here, looking at it a bit clear, but it still have the particles that I need to get rid of. I go into the filter system. Touch yourself. Here, come on, nice here. He'll be doing that in the story. Let me come.
Oh gosh, babes, I'm hungry. What's you had to eat?
Oh gosh, my whole day in the kitchen, you know.
What you cooking so?
Well, the cassava roti, cassava fries, cassava pastry, and I even got the cassava bread from the bakery up the road. Oh, let me check the cassava log on the fire. And I have some cassava ice cream in the can.
Wait, you want me to look like cassava?
So you know cassava good for you?
What's it good for?
Cassava good for vitamin B complex, vitamin K, minerals, zinc, copper. So that means you're getting a good source of energy to put out on them people work. And on top of that, it prevents colon cancer and lowers your cholesterol.
Girl, let me stop talking and start eating.
This ad is brought to you by the Agriculture Policy Program and CADI. For more information, call CADI on 443-5459.